Well, hello and a very warm welcome. My name is Daisy McAndrew. I've got the privilege and honour of hosting a series of videos on behalf of Shearman and Sterling, looking at all the ramifications, implications of that referendum vote for Britain to leave the European Union. For this specific issue, we're going to be looking at insurance in the light of Brexit, and I'm delighted to say that I've been joined by not one but two experts, because this issue is relatively complicated. Barney Reynolds, thank you so much for joining us, and Andreas Lohdefink, welcome to you as well. Barney, I come to you first. I've already said it's quite complicated. It seems that insurance in the post-Brexit world, or the leading up to Brexit world, is a bit of a harder nut to crack, not straightforward.
That's right, Daisy. Effectively, there's a real issue for primary insurance in terms of how it's structured that needs really quite careful thought and planning. Reinsurance, taking insurance on from insurers, is subject to an equivalence regime, which allows it to the status quo to continue. But primary insurance, there isn't really an equivalence regime that does much, and so things will have to change.
Andreas, you joining us today from your base in Frankfurt. That gives you a specific angle with which you're watching this. What's your view of this area?
I think that there will be change, and the insurance sector will certainly need to monitor on an ongoing basis the developments as they happen. But in a nutshell, I think one could say why there will be certain disruptions. I think there are solutions and workarounds that can be implemented. So overall, I would say it is not a disaster, but it requires contingency planning and monitoring.
And I suppose we can all rest assured that a lot of work is already going into working out some of the answers to these quite complicated questions.
Absolutely. We're doing an awful lot of analysis of local laws around Europe and the implications for doing business in a slightly different way from how it's being done now, perhaps, for instance, through local branches of UK-based insurance companies, and the implications of doing it that way, and what ultimately the costs would be, additional costs would be from doing that as opposed to doing it in the way that it's done now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously clients, well, not just clients, everybody is finding Brexit a difficult experience because there are so many unknowns. But I suppose when it comes to advising clients specifically, you're going to want to give them a reassuring message.
Yes, sure. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, this is a political process and we don't know the outcome, but we have a pretty clear idea of what the possible outcomes could be if you look at the various models that exist for non-EU member states. And on that basis, we can analyze what the consequences would be and what clients would need to do in order to make sure they can continue doing their business the way they do it at the moment, with as little interruption as possible. Yes.
Barney, just expand for me a little bit on the two types of insurance and how you see that might shake down.
So at the moment, we have for both insurance and reinsurance a passport regime across Europe, where an entity here can conduct business across the European Union under a single license, effectively. And that may be the negotiated outcome of Brexit, who knows. But absent that passport, the next level down, or the next way of accessing the European markets is through an equivalence determination. If you've got similar laws, then you also get access. That applies in the insurance sector for reinsurance, but not primary insurance, or a couple of aspects of primary insurance, but not the bulk of it. And so for primary insurance, there isn't the sort of neat way in, absent some sort of negotiated adjustment. And that does require insurers to look at their business models and to look at a little bit more of a change around those than perhaps in some other sectors like banking and investment banking.
But I suppose thinking about most of your clients, most of the clients within this sector, they are large, multinational, global corporations dotted around all over the place.
That's right, and that's actually a very good point, Daisy. Why in theory you could think setting up local branches or subsidiaries actually entails a lot of kind of cost in terms of administration and capital. In practice, what we see is that a lot of our international clients are already set up in a way and conduct business in a way that they use locally authorized carriers or branches all through Europe, at least in all major markets. So my take would be that for most of the major players, this will not have such a significant impact.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what would your message or your advice be to them today?
I'd wait and see what the results of the negotiations will be. Obviously, continue with the contingency planning, look at branch structures in Europe, look at subsidiaries in Europe for continuance of current setups, but don't do anything as yet. Wait and see what happens.
So a sort of swan, lots of activity going on underneath, but calm and not too much activity on the top.
Intellectual activity, I would
Yes.
not practical activity in terms of taking decisions and moving things yet, because it may turn out to be a mistake.
Okay, well, good advice. I mean, it's clear that this isn't the easiest of areas,
Yeah.
but plenty of work going on to make it as smooth as possible. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.